Hosting Saturday Night Live for the sixth time felt surreal for Melissa McCarthy, not just because of the milestone, but because it stood in sharp contrast to the person she once was. The goth girl with blue hair, heavy black eyeliner, and a cape-like wardrobe from her college years seemed like someone from another life. Back then, she was so intimidating that Ben Falcone, the man who would later become her husband, was afraid to speak to her. She skipped classes, rejected anything that felt conventional, and leaned hard into rebellion. Today, with a career spanning television, film, fashion, and production, and a net worth estimated around $60 million, that version of Melissa feels almost unrecognizable. The shift wasn't slow or accidental. In her early 30s, she reached a breaking point where she had to decide whether to walk away from Hollywood or reinvent herself entirely. That decision changed everything. Melissa McCarthy was born on August 26, 1970, in Plainfield, Illinois, a small village southwest of Chicago. Her parents, Sandra and Michael, were Irish Catholic farmers who worked the land, growing corn and soybeans. Hollywood was nowhere in sight. Her family traced its roots back to County Cork in Ireland, and later genetic testing revealed she was predominantly Irish, with German and English ancestry mixed in. Life on the farm was structured by chores, early mornings, and church, not auditions or agents. That background made her eventual Walk of Fame star in 2015 feel almost improbable, as if someone had lifted her straight out of a cornfield and dropped her into the heart of the entertainment industry. Her upbringing was loud, communal, and deeply Midwestern. Large family gatherings, endless cousins, and long dinners shaped her sense of humor and timing. In a place where everyone knew everyone else's business, she learned how to observe people closely and find comedy in everyday behavior. Those instincts would later define her characters. One surprising connection from her childhood was her relationship to Jenny McCarthy, her younger cousin. The two spent summers together in Illinois, long before Jenny became famous. When Jenny landed her own comedy show in the late 1990s, she helped Melissa get a production assistant job and a small on-screen role. That opportunity became Melissa's first real step into television, even though the two rarely appeared together publicly later on. Before audiences knew her as Sookie St. James on Gilmore Girls, Melissa went through a phase that felt almost theatrical. While studying textiles and fashion at Southern Illinois University, she embraced a goth identity, dyeing her hair blue and wearing dramatic black clothing. Ben Falcone first noticed her during this time and found her intimidating. That rebellious streak, however, became an asset. Experimenting with appearance and attitude gave her the confidence to later throw herself fully into outrageous characters without fear of looking foolish. Initially, her path seemed headed toward fashion. She graduated from St. Francis Academy in 1988, enrolled in college to study textiles, then dropped out and moved to New York with hopes of attending the Fashion Institute of Technology. Fashion, however, lost its pull once she stepped onto a comedy stage almost on a whim. Her first stand-up attempt was messy and raw, but it lit something up inside her. Comedy offered a freedom she hadn't found anywhere else. New York was unforgiving. She spent nearly 9 years there, juggling jobs at Starbucks and the YMCA while performing stand-up at night. Some nights she succeeded, other nights she failed spectacularly, replaying every mistake as she walked home. She trained at the Actors Studio, studying emotional truth and applying it to cramped comedy clubs where audiences were indifferent at best. Money was scarce, and there were moments when she had less than $5 to her name. Still, she kept going. One memory from that time stayed with her. While working at Starbucks, she once served Chris Farley, one of her comedy heroes. Overwhelmed, she burst into tears. Years later, when audiences compared her fearless physical comedy to Farley's, that moment felt like a strange full-circle confirmation. Her real turning point came after she moved to Los Angeles in the late 1990s and joined the Groundlings in 1997. The small theater became her creative home for over a decade. She performed for small crowds, refined her instincts, and eventually earned her place among a lineage of performers who would define modern comedy. It was there, in a writing class in 1998, that she reconnected with Ben Falcone. Their relationship grew out of sketch writing, shared humor, and late-night rehearsals, not glamour. They married quietly in 2005. As her 30th birthday approached, Melissa quietly set a deadline for herself. If she hadn't made real progress by then, she planned to leave acting behind. Just days before turning 30, she was offered the role of Sookie St. James on a new WB series called Gilmore Girls. That single phone call changed her life. She joined the show in 2000 and stayed through all 7 seasons, appearing in every episode. The role gave her stability, visibility, and time to grow. While Gilmore Girls made her recognizable, Mike and Molly transformed her career. Premiering in 2010, the show sparked controversy for centering on 2 plus-size leads. Despite criticism, audiences showed up. In 2011, Melissa won the Emmy for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Comedy Series, beating some of the most respected names in television. That win reshaped how the industry viewed her and opened doors to film roles that once felt unreachable. Then came Bridesmaids. Released in 2011, the film became a cultural phenomenon, and Melissa's performance as Megan stole the spotlight. Her fearless, improvised energy earned her an Oscar nomination, placing her in rare territory as both an Emmy winner and Oscar nominee in the same year. From that moment on, she was no longer just a scene stealer. She was a leading force. With success came relentless scrutiny of her body. Critics crossed lines, most notoriously in 2013 when a review focused entirely on her appearance rather than her work. The backlash was swift, and Melissa eventually responded with calm clarity, pointing out the cruelty and sexism behind such commentary. Instead of retreating, she took control. She moved into producing, launched her own company with Falcone, and demanded creative authority. Her fashion line was born from years of frustration in fitting rooms. She insisted on inclusive sizing, fair pricing, and bold design, refusing to hide women's bodies or charge them extra for existing. It wasn't a vanity project, but a response to an industry that had excluded her. Over time, Melissa's career expanded to include dramatic roles, political satire, and business ventures. Her Oscar-nominated performance in Can You Ever Forgive Me? Confirmed her range. Her portrayal of Sean Spicer on Saturday Night Live became one of the most talked about political impressions of the decade. Through it all, she remained grounded. She changed her lifestyle quietly, focused on calm rather than extremes, and protected her daughters from the harsher edges of her work. The woman who once considered quitting Hollywood now stands as one of its most powerful and respected figures, not because she fit in, but because she refused to disappear.